Carl here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for short. Taking those nostalgia goggles off and reliving some childhood horror. Very excited to talk about this one. This is, nostalgia-wise, when I think of it, just one of my just delightful childhood memories. Mainly because I think it's a damn fun movie. I thought it was a fun movie as a child, with one or two moments of egregious horror, and as an adult I think it holds up in that regard. In fact, I think as an adult I'm even more positive towards it now. It is, of course, House. Yes, House, you know it. Chances are, if you know it, you already feel the same way about this particular film. It's a bit of a cult classic. This and the series, the films that follow there, I think are kind of beloved entries in the horror world, particularly as this first one, maybe more than any other, really utilised the sort of dry, dark, black comedy aspect to not to play down its more horrible aspects, but when it wanted to be horror, it would be brave as well. There's some great visual effects and there's some great storytelling moments, incredibly imaginative areas that it follows, leading up to an end part that maybe I'm not so hot on, but I'll get into that. So the idea of a struggling writer living in a house that, I don't know, has these indefinable abilities, what it is, it portals to another world, just a black hole in a dimension that just creates all these different and mad scenarios, is fascinating. I do think it's something the second movie explores differently. Who knows, that might be on this list. You might have to watch the future episodes to find out. But certainly this one is a little bit intangible, a little confusing overall. But it's because of how it plays out and how it works from a character perspective. I think it's enjoyable. I almost feel like House itself could have been like this could have been an anthology, and the house, that's the thing, and all the other parts of different stories around it. I feel like that's maybe what they were first kind of going for, because you got House, this one, then we got House 2, the second story, a different story set around this house, but from an earlier period. It feels like that's maybe what they were trying to do, kind of like Season of the Witch with Halloween 3. Different stories set around a particular period or a specific thing. But obviously success and all that meant it never really happened, or lack of success, and House 3 and 4 are confusing to say the least, unrelated for the most part. But in this first one, focusing on a character and his particular story, Roger Cobb, that is, of course, is brilliant. Great fun to watch, great energy. Just always entertained by him, the neighbour who is Norm from Cheers. It's Norm from Cheers, yeah. Him there, and then like how they react to the horror as much as anything else. The fabulous soundtrack and how that's utilised to enhance comedic moments and horror moments as well. I absolutely adore. But it doesn't like live in the memory for the horror elements as much, except for one thing, I think, which is actually right at the start of the movie. It's the hanging. It's the death of the aunt, the elderly aunt, and how her body is discovered. I think the sort of angle it's shot at and the creepy vibe the opening has with the delivery person coming in and the vibes, I think that's really, really horrible. You know, when he walks in the room and the camera pans around to sort of show her hanging by her neck, that's really depressing and horrible. It's just not very nice to see. Later on, there's a few moments here and there that I think set your imagination aflame more than anything else. Like when he looks into the void beyond the mirror, the bathroom mirror, like that sets my imagination aflame. Unfortunately, that does lead to the sort of Vietnam stuff. Now, I like the idea of, and I certainly liked it when I was younger, and I like it now, of the house being able to use issues, trauma that you've suffered to then influence and create different dimensions and use, and that all those elements, I like that. It's very traditional, it's very simple, and I like it. So I like the fact that Roger's issues around Vietnam are utilised. However, I think that side of things is where the film is a little cheesy and certainly a little silly in places, particularly when it leads up to Ben coming back as the sort of zombie thing. I do like the effects and I do like the humour in it, but it's certainly perhaps a little sillier, a little cheesier than perhaps what comes before. Because before there's all this sort of clever little fun scares things. The transformation of the wife into that big hulking beast is fantastic. The idea of the kid gone missing in the swimming pool is creepy and uncomfortable. The monster that comes out at midnight and slashes up the goddamn mattress. All of this is great stuff. Sometimes just the vibe of the house feeling empty and haunted. I think the sort of the scene after Roger gets that scared, like from outside all the lights go on, because like, you know, when you're scared in the dark, you automatically go around turning all the lights on. I love stuff like that. it still holds up. I think this one really, really holds up, and I found it thoroughly enjoyable to watch again. I almost want to get into this in the second movie more than anything else, but I'm always torn between which of these do I like more, this or the second, because I do see them as two equal movies, even though they are so very different. In fact, the second one is it's hard to call it a horror in the same way as this one, but then there's such a lack of horror in this first one that it doesn't quite work either. But it is just so much fun. It is an 80s classic. It is one of those that has got the reputation that it's got for good reasons. You've never seen it, you really should experience it. I'll never forget the VHS cover. The original cover of that, the hand ringing the doorbell. God, that was iconic. I absolutely adore that cover. It's burned into my memory. It's one of my favourite horror movie covers. I've got a lot of love for this film. What do you reckon? It's House. You got any thoughts? You know what to do? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news, and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.